education is about the transmission of values. One of our values has to be the value of diversity.
Growing up, so many of my choices were handed to me by a very similar looking group of students and teachers that surrounded me. And the world felt small, and I want my students to have a bigger world, a world that's marked by diversity.
Having our children go to school in a segregated environment is not preparing them for the future. It's not preparing them to be in a workplace that is increasingly diverse in any way we can measure it.
Great Schools for All was formed in 2013 by a group of city and suburban residents to look at new approaches to improve public education for all students in our county. As we looked at our public schools, what stood out is how segregated our schools are, both racially and socioeconomically. Our vision is to create a network of primary and secondary schools that are jointly administered by multiple school districts and open to all Monroe County residents. And our aim is to see a 50-50 blend of low-income and higher-income students.
Rochester would be a different place if all of the students were educated in at least 50-50 of integrated, socioeconomically, racially diverse schools. People would be more invested in working to make Rochester a better place.
With that comes an understanding of anybody's humanity, because every human has a culture. So if I don't ever have the opportunity to see that, I'm only living through the lens of my own culture.
The importance of what would it do for an affluent children to learn how to be around children that don't look like them. I think that is so important.
When I think of the negative consequences of school segregation for kids, one of the first things that sticks out to me is just how much fear is created between all of us when we don't know each other, when we don't get to build authentic and meaningful relationships with each other across racial and cultural lines. It was something that I missed growing up.
We are a diverse family. I'm from Puerto Rico. My husband is half Puerto Rican, half Polish. And our kids, we have 2 sons. We moved to the suburbs. And when we were looking at all the schools, there was no diversity when researching the school we were going to. And it kind of made me wonder, why not?
What I learned growing up in a diverse community, I went to a United Nations school where we had 47 countries represented, so many religions. And honestly, what I learned from that is empathy and knowing that we're part of like a community. How can you live in a community and want to uplift each other if you don't understand each other?
In that formative time when you're learning about the world, that is part of that growth experience. So when you become an adult, going into different settings with different types of people, it's not foreign to you. You may even seek it out.
We're also saying high quality education is important because we know the inter-district magnet schools, if we were able to do that, to have different socioeconomic backgrounds, we know that those schools perform better. To see some of those things that have worked in places like North Carolina that have sort of this model, it means that we are going to make sure that we give students, number one, access to good quality education, but also put them in an environment where they're meeting people who they're going to work with when they enter the global economy.
We know from decades of research and evidence from schools around the country that more racially and socioeconomically diverse schools dramatically improves the rates of success for kids from low-income households. More diverse schools also benefit more affluent students by giving them skills they will need to succeed in an increasingly diverse workplace.
The lack of diversity and the segregatory patterns that we see in our community have a fundamental impact on resource allocation and where dollars go. We can't have growth and vibrancy in a place like Rochester with the current segregation that we have in place. And why not education as a place to start?
Being in a school where everyone's doesn't come from the same background. I'm a better teacher, and our children feel like they're better prepared for the world and how to engage with each other.
I think if we as a community really don't want to live as segregated as we have been historically, there's really no other way to go about it. So I think it needs to start with how we're educating.
And our kids are better for it.